Hi, this is Vinnie Appice from Today, Heaven and Hell, Black Sabbath, Dio, and you're watching CMS TV.
It is Chris Aiken Presents. I, of course, am Chris Aiken, and I'm happy today because we get to talk about my all-time favorite band, Black Sabbath. You know, and I know we're going to call it Heaven and Hell for the sake of this argument and this discussion today, but it's Black Sabbath. Come on. They have new release out there, Breaking Out of Heaven, 2007 to 2009, out on March the 27th. And here to talk about it, the drummer himself, the man, Vinnie Appice. Vinnie, how are you, sir?
Hello there. Hello, everybody. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, man. And it's great. I'm going to be honest. I thought I was done hearing about Heaven and Hell, you know, with the live thing. And I kind of thought that was over. And this is exciting to me to get this to come back, to get the vinyl. You know, it's a very exciting project. So let's start there, Vinnie. Talk a little bit about when the decision was made to bring this project together, and you know how you and the other band members worked on it.
Well, I wasn't really involved in what they were putting together. You know, that's more of a business decision, which has always been between Tony and Geezer and the managers and Ronnie. You know, but I heard they were doing it. They were putting it together, and I thought it was an incredible thing. It's a great package. I actually got one the other day, and it's beautiful. The LPs, the vinyls, the booklets in it are incredible. The pictures, the printing, everything's really spot on. You know, it's a great collector's item for anybody that's a Sabbath fan. And it's a great way to end the era of that band, because it didn't end good last time.
Right.
We were scheduled to keep going on tour and all that, and that's when Ronnie, he was sick, and we thought he'd be recovering by the summer of 2010, and that wasn't what happened. So This was a good way to end it. You know, it's a positive ending.
Sure. Before we even talk about further into the box set at all, I did want to ask you this, and it's a little downer, but since you took me down a little bit, I'll get my downer question out of the way. Obviously, both Ronnie and Ozzy have passed away, and you know, and that's really the end of the Black Sabbath era. I know Tony Martin may not agree, but come on. You know, as far as realistically, that's when people talk about Black Sabbath, Ozzy, Ronnie, that's where it is and ends.
Right.
This music, the Heaven and Hell, the Devil You Know, was named Heaven and Hell because of the legalities and blah, blah, blah. Fine. I understood that at the time, but now we're in a different time where you know, they're not competing anymore. Is it time to rebrand this project, this version, as Black Sabbath, as fans already do anyway?
Fans do that anyway, but I think the Heaven and Hell name was because we were doing tours. You know, we did 2 tours and all those gigs, but we were kind of making it different than saying it's Black Sabbath, because we're not playing any of the old Black Sabbath songs. Mm-hmm. Heaven and Hell was all Ronnie era songs. Not even one old song thrown in for good luck, you know. So they decided that was best to name it Heaven and Hell to differentiate from each band, you know. Mm-hmm. But you know, it's always Black Sabbath underneath. It's in the house of Black Sabbath,
right?
You know, and this is one of the rooms that were in Black Sabbath. So,
right on.
But fans call it Black Sabbath.
Of course. You know, I mean, even when you play it for somebody, nobody's like, oh, isn't that Heaven and Hell? No, it's always Black Sabbath, you know. It's like,
yeah, you're better off. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, let's dig into this thing a little bit, Vinny. Obviously, I've spoken to you before about heaven and
Yeah.
hell, and when we spoke before, one of the things that you've told me numerous times actually is that you always felt that Devil You Know lacked the power of the live experience, and even of older Black Sabbath records. What did this do to change that? Does the vinyl help it any? Is it
You know,
improved or?
I mean, everybody's got an opinion. My opinion, the problem I had with, not problem, but the issue was this album, the songs were written all beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to Ronnie's house and everybody was there and we listened to the songs and it was with a drum machine. So I'm like, with a drum machine? Like Black Sabbath with a drum machine.
Right.
So that kind of got on my wrong side a little bit. And but that's the way it was written. Tony had all these riffs and they were put together with Geezer and Ronnie and everything with like demos with a drum machine. And whereas the other albums we did, we were in a room together and we just cranked up loud and jammed and came up and played the riffs Tony had and the ideas they had, and we put it together. That was the Mob Rules. And, Dehumanizer, when I got involved, I was involved in more than half that album.
Sure.
Same thing. We played in a room, and we just jammed off each other and cranked out and sweat, the whole bit. So it was more of a live approach. This album was done differently. So to me, it was a little bit more tame to me. But there were people that love this, think it's the heaviest album. So
I don't know that I would say that.
who knows?
I love it, and I mean, Bible Black is definitely one of the all-timer Black Sabbath songs.
Right.
Or sorry, Heaven and I'm going to do this the whole time because I call it Black Sabbath. But Bible Black is such a great song, and it really is probably the modern classic of this band. When that riff first came to be, when you first heard it, did you feel like it was like a Neon Nights type of a moment where you instantly knew it was something special, or did that develop for you as a performer from playing it out and feeling that, or do you not even think that's a great song? I mean,
No, I mean, when I heard the riffs, everything Tony plays even by himself, you just go, oh yeah. We used to do sound checks on the tour, and Tony would just check his guitar and go into some chords and play some riffs, and I'd get on the drums and follow him. And, you could feel it inside. So Bible Black was a great song that had such a feeling, and it was heavy. It sounded very much like Sabbath should sound, and so yeah, that made it kind of special, And the thing with the drum machine before, obviously, we went in and played together in the studio.
sure.
We played the songs; those are real drums, and but the way they were written was quite different than the previous album. But Bible Black kicks ass.
Sure,
Definitely.
absolutely. Let me ask you this. You brought it up. I'm going to play with this a little bit. When you went into it and laid your drum tracks, was the mission to play what the drum machine had done, or did you not have creative freedom to expand it a little bit or add your swing or your flavor to it?
Oh no, I always had creative. Do whatever I wanted to do. Nobody ever in the whole history I played with these guys ever said, "Oh, maybe that doesn't sound right," or "This is wrong. Maybe you should play this." Nobody ever said that. It was creative freedom right there. So what we did was I had the demos, and I went to my house, and that house I had a set of electronic drums. So I had the tracks, and I just laid some electronic drums down to get the feel of the songs. Then we went to Wales, Rockfield Studios, I think it was, where we recorded and rehearsed. And that's where we recorded it.
Okay.
You know, so we played live then, but yeah. So
Okay.
my stuff's on there. Yeah.
Right.
I wish I would have played a little bit more.
Sure. Well,
It's always like that.
yeah, but and you're a musician. You guys are never happy with anything you do anyway. So
That's true. As soon as you finish, you go, maybe I should have did this. Maybe I should have did that. You know.
and I'm sure even on the legendary songs, you probably listen back to and go, Neon Nights, it needs this or it needs that. I wish I would have done this or that. It's funny because as fans, you know, it's such a difference between fans and musicians. For you guys, you always hear everything that you wish you would have done. For us, if you try to do that, we'll be the first ones to complain. Oh, that's not how it was. You know, it really is interesting how different the fans are from the musicians, no? Look at your screen right now. If you're tired of the hide-and-seek games with big tech, where links disappear and episodes get throttled, I've got the fix. I'm Chris Aiken, and it's time for me to show you how to take back your access to the Classic Metal Show, the Seth Williams Show, and Chris Aiken Presents. Pick up your phone, go to the App Store or Google Play, and download the Locals app. It is 100% free. Once you're in, just search for the CMS Network. You're going to see everything. Every interview, every unfiltered rant, every deep dive music discussion, every uncensored news article we put up, all in one centralized, uncensored hub. No more chasing links across 5 different socials. This is our home. But if you really want the keys to the kingdom, look for that VIP upgrade. For just $4.99 a month, you're cutting out the commercials, getting the advanced drops before anyone else, and accessing bonus episodes that are way too heavy, dirty, or we just don't want to share with the free public. For the price of a cheap beer, you're supporting independent, unapologetic media. Download the Locals app today. Get some CMS wherever you are. And if you're a real one, join the VIP squad at classicmetalshow.locals.com. The Classic Metal Show and the CMS Network. It's uncensored. It's unapologetic. We will see you there.
Well, that's why when you make an album, whatever album it is, and then you go on the road, and after a couple of weeks, all of a sudden you're playing these songs a little bit more aggressive, a little different, and sometimes a new part comes to light. Like, oh, that was cool what you did there. You know, when Ronnie and I played off each other, and Tony and Geezer, we all played off each other.
Sure.
And so the song, by the end of the tour, has actually changed a bit from the original thing that's on the album. The album's like the standard, this is the format. Here's the song. And then by the end of the tour, here's the song cranked up with a couple of cups of coffee involved or something.
Right.
You know? So that always happens like that. It's always.
Right on.
Because in the studio, you're playing it a little more safe, you know. You're recording, you want it to be
You're trying to be more
tight.
crisp.
Right, tight, yeah, the whole thing. So,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Well, one thing I've always wondered, and I can't believe I've never asked you this, but I was watching my old interviews and I never did. In 2000, whatever it was when you guys recorded this, 6, 7, whatever the year was, you, Geezer, and Tony were obviously somewhat different players than you were in the initial incarnation in the 80s, in the 81 or whatever. You know, Tony was tuned a little bit lower. You played a little bit different because of your experiences, you know, for 30 years or 20 years in between.
Right.
Was it difficult to come into the studio and kind of adjust while still keeping it sounding Black Sabbath? Because you were different players than you were in the 80s. And you know, you were older as well. You had a different appreciation as well. Was that difficult to do?
No, it wasn't. You know, it's funny because every time, you know, we've gotten together like 3 times, you know, over the years, you know. First it was Bill, then it was me, then then it was Cozy Powell, then it was me, then it was Bill, then it was me. And every time we got back together in the same room, there was that vibe again. Mm-hmm. Even after not seeing each other for years and years and years, you get in there and there's that vibe, you know.
Right.
And playing with Tony and Geezer, it's just incredible. And then when Ronnie comes in, it gives you chills, you know. So we might have all changed a little bit as a band.
Right.
But individually, I didn't find it any problem like that, you know. It's just, so I love playing this heavy, loud music.
Sure.
That's why I can't hear anymore. But, yeah, so we changed as a band possibly, but
sure.
That's cool.
Now, Vinny, I was lucky enough, thanks to you for giving me tickets actually to catch the.
Oh, I did?
Yeah, back
what
when.
A nice guy.
You are a nice guy. You liked the fact that I loved your Three-Legged Dog record. You were like, yeah, come out to the show. Because I was one of the few that grabbed onto that record. But
yeah, that was a good record.
It was real. It still is. It's a great record. It's one people should seek out and find if they can, because it's
Jimmy Bain on bass, and it was cool.
Yeah, it's such a good record. But with the Heaven and Hell, when I saw it with you guys, I mean, it was so powerful. And as somebody that was probably a little too young to remember, like I never saw original Black Sabbath with Ozzy or the first run with Dio. I saw Dehumanizer and I saw this. I just never understood the real power, and I don't think you guys were as powerful on Dehumanizer as you were as the Heaven and Hell era of the band as far as live. Mm-hmm. When you look back on this touring for Heaven and Hell for Devil You Know, what was your vibe of the performances? Did you feel it was stronger? Did you guys feel that you were tighter, spookier? What was your vibe as, the guy running the show kind of from the back?
I think it was probably tighter because we all matured more, if you want to call it that.
Sure.
And we're used to the way we played together. And then getting back together in 2006, 2007 and doing the Dio years and then touring. I think we were so excited about playing together again that the energy was very high, and it wasn't like we were trying to prove a point, but it was like we're trying to prove a point. Mm-hmm. We're going to go out and play our best and kick the hell out of this,
right?
And that's what we did, and we were really good friends by that point. We knew each other very well, so it was more comfortable.
Sure.
Wasn't a lot of tension, Mm-hmm. So,
what was it still? Was it still competitive with Ozzy?
Nah, because Ozzy. There was so much stuff in between from when we first did the Heaven and Hell tour and Mob Rules album. Ozzy went out and had a spectacular career.
Oh yeah.
At one point, Dio came in the Sabbath, brought it back, to where it should be, and then we left and did Holy Diver, Last in Line albums, a whole nother career.
Sure.
And Tony and Geezer carried on, and then so much water under the bridge, but we continue to strive and play our best, and it's just a great band. We all play together great. Mm-hmm. It's great. The feel's there, everything's there, playing together.
Sure. When you look at your career, your specific career, obviously the Black Sabbath and the Dio stuff, those are, you have played on arguably 3 of the top 10 metal albums ever, and that's not me just kissing your ass. That's just, like you said, Holy Diver, Last in Line, Neon Nights. These are legendary records that I'm 57 years old and my kids are now in their 30s. First thing I was handing them when they were 10 years old was Neon Nights, right. Or Dio, one of the first shows my son ever saw was you guys with Dio, or I
Right.
don't think you were in the band at that point, but it was Dio. You know, it was like 2016 or whatever it would have been, or not that late, in 2006 or five or
Right.
whatever it
Yeah.
would have been. The Shadow in the Moon or whatever of Dio. But you know, I mean, these are legendary for you as the guy. You're in it. I don't assume that you appreciate it the way we fans appreciate it, but how do you look at it? Do you look at it with, I'm sure you're prideful of it, but do you look at it and beat your chest a little bit and say, yeah, I did make history?
No, I never say that, but I must say that when we get together and do this stuff with any band, we're doing a job together, believe it or not, you know, and we don't realize like, you know, we might think, oh, this is a good song. This is pretty good. When we made Holy Diver, it was like people coming up going, this is going to go platinum. I went, really? I think it's good. I don't know. Is it going to go platinum? Damn. But we don't realize that, you know, until later on, when you go on tour, you meet people go, man, that song got me through such a hard time. If it wasn't for that song or that album, I don't know what I would have did. It made my life better. And we don't realize that's going to happen when we write the songs or put together the albums. And we're just doing what we love to do, and that's play music and put it together, make it sound great as best we can. Yeah, so we don't see the other side. It's like two different sides,
Right.
you know. We don't sit there and go, let's make a song. Let's write a song, put it together that's going to make everybody really happy with their life or make them miserable.
Right.
So, you know, it's that's always happens because we go on the road and people go, man, that album, that song. Oh. And I'm sitting in the back of my head, I'm going, really? God, we were just putting it together, making sure it felt good, making sure it sounded right, you know. So there's two different sides. It's supposed to work like that, I guess.
Sure.
You know?
Well, and honestly, probably if you did think that way, then the music would deteriorate because you would probably rest on your laurels a little bit. That is what happens when people, you know, what's the old saying about don't read your own press, because, you know, that tends to lead you down a bad path.
Yeah, yeah. Like I never go, wow, I played on these pretty amazing albums. Mm-hmm. And I played with this band Black Sabbath, who became the cornerstone of heavy metal, you know. And I even played in the version of Black Sabbath with Ozzy on tour.
Right.
At one point in the early 2000s. And so I never sit there and go, man, I'm so cool. I don't do that.
Right.
I just go, it's a job. Let's do it together and let's play and do that. I'm really appreciate the fact that I got to play with these guys.
Sure.
Ronnie, Tony Geezer, Ozzy, everybody. Yeah, I'm very lucky to have done that. So
Sure. Let me ask you a drumming question, and it's really not a techie question as much as just I look at today, and I mean there are some amazing drummers out there, but they're amazing for different reasons than your era. Which, like I think that Estepario guy, who I'm sure you're aware of, everybody's aware of that guy that does like the quadruple blast beats while he's drinking coffee and stuff. He's crazy.
He can make a sandwich.
Yeah, I mean, he almost makes it look too easy. But I personally believe that the drumming today is not as good as then, because while these guys can do the tricks better than maybe you guys did, they don't have that swing or that groove. They're,
right.
I can hear you play. I can hear Steven Adler play. Steven Adler's always my, you listen to the two Guns N' Roses records between Appetite and Use Your Illusion, and it's so glaring the difference between having Steven Adler and having Matt Sorum. Not that either are bad, but I mean, it's just Adler had such a swing. You had such a swing to the way you play. Do you think that today's drumming understands that, or do you think it's just gotten lost because the attention span is so much less that people don't pay attention to full records and absorb that? Look, everybody, I have spent 30 years in the loudest rooms in the world, and I can tell you one thing for certain. I've got zero time for weak coffee or woke nonsense. Guess that's actually two things I don't care. If you're like me, you're tired of giving up your money to corporate sellouts who hate your values. You want a brew that's as unapologetic as a Marshall stack cranked to 11. Enter Blackout Coffee. This is bold, fresh roasted, 100% American grit in a cup. It's fuel for patriots who refuse to back down. Whether you're hitting the Patriot medium roast or the massive high caffeine kick of Brutal Awakening, this is the taste of real freedom and hard-hitting flavor. Stop supporting the bland beans of companies that don't stand for you. Head over to blackoutcoffee.com right now. Use my code, which is in the description, for an exclusive discount. You can save. It's time to wake up unstoppable. Blackout Coffee, folks. Fuel for patriots. Get yours now.
Yeah. I think what happens is you watch somebody on YouTube. They are fantastic for that 3 minutes.
Right.
I mean, I watched guys yesterday. A couple things came up. I went, that is fucking amazing. I'm sorry, but it's amazing. Wow, what's he doing there? He's doing this kind of thing. But I see people playing Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich was my man in John Bonham.
Sure.
And that's called swing right there.
Right.
You know, people play the exact solo Buddy played, but it doesn't sound the same.
Right.
It doesn't swing. The animal instinct isn't there, and it's totally different. You know. And listen to Zeppelin, the stuff Bonzo didn't do. You know, you play it and there's a hole or just a little, pickup there. What was that? Oh. It's like, okay. But I think it's I call them drum scientists now.
Yeah. That's true.
These guys are amazing. My good friend is Marco Minimum. We became good friends. Okay. Now we're at two opposite ends of the spectrum.
Sure.
I'm the rock guy. He's the drum scientist. He comes over here. One time it was me, him, over here on this set. Me, him, and Carmine. Right. It was me and Carmine go, God, how do you do that, man? Holy shit, Right. But he loves the way we play.
Sure.
He grew up listening to Mob Rules. So, we played a different way. There wasn't all this technology. There wasn't all this YouTube stuff to get data from. You had to listen to records. And back then, the records were no clicks, nothing.
Right.
All the Sabbath stuff up until, I think, The Devil You Know, I don't think we had a click on that either. And Holy Diver, no click. Right. It was just boom. We played the whole song together as a band. And now I do a lot of sessions here in this studio, and I play to a click because you have to, because you're sending it all over the world and people are playing to it. Yeah, it's a different thing. Just to remind you, I got to leave in a couple of minutes because I got an Eddie Trunk interview
all good.
coming up.
Well, we'll wrap it up right here, man. Obviously, one more time for people that want to invest in something awesome. Heaven and Hell, Breaking Out of Heaven, 2007 to 2009. March 27th is the date. And Vinny, it's always fun catching up, man. Thanks for joining me on Chris Aiken Presents.
Oh, thank you very much, Chris. And it's great talking to you. And fantastic. Hope to do it again soon.
You've heard me grill your favorite rock stars for 30 years on the Classic Metal Show and Chris Aiken Presents. Now it's time to put me to work for you. That's right. I am officially on Cameo, and I'm bringing that same unfiltered, high-octane energy to your personal messages. No fluff, no corporate scripts, just the raw truth. Whether you need to roast a buddy for his terrible taste in music, wish a fellow metalhead a brutal birthday, or get a personalized shout-out that actually has some grit, I have got you covered. Stop sending boring cards. Send a message they'll actually remember. Head on over to cameo.com and just do a search for my name, Chris Aiken, A-K-I-N. Let's make something legendary. Get some CMS personally.